So apparently Boba Fett came out today, and if you're watching this tomorrow, then it came out yesterday. Had no idea. I watched it. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, welcome back. So I saw Boba Fett, and you know, funny thing about this, when I first saw the trailer when it came out some time ago, I wasn't not impressed. I was lukewarm towards the idea of a Boba Fett show because, you know, when it comes to Star Wars, Disney has done so many things that have turned me off to Star Wars at this point. I really don't have a desire or that same excitement that some people still do to really go out there and watch a Star Wars movie. I mean, as I said in the outset, I didn't even know the show came out on Wednesday. I didn't know it was out. I just happened to pop on Disney Plus and I saw it and I'm like, all right, well, let me watch this because I know some people are probably going to ask me. And I did watch it. And, you know, while I wasn't too sure about whether or not I was interested in this show when I saw the trailer, because I kind of felt like when I saw the trailer, I was like, this kind of feels like, I don't know, for some reason I got the feeling when I saw the trailer of it feeling forced. Like there was nothing in the trailer that grabbed me. But I did watch the show today, and I got to say, in all honesty, I was very impressed with the first episode. It was very good. It was a very good opening episode. Probably one of the better opening episodes for a new show, because one of the things we commonly know about new television shows is that usually they kind of start off slow. It takes a couple of episodes to really set things up. Where I think this one did well is that the first half of the show, you're kind of looking at what happened with Boba Fett during the whole time he was missing, right? And we actually get to see him in the Sarlacc Pit. And I got to tell you, that was probably the most brilliant thing they could have done. I loved that short moment in the beginning of the episode when he's in the Sarlacc Pit and you kind of see how he escapes. And what I love about that is, if you remember in Return of the Jedi, they talk about how long you are slowly digested in the Sarlacc Pit. I couldn't remember if it was 1,000 or 10,000 years, something along those lines. And it's funny because when he's in there, you can see like he's got like the stomach acid, but because I guess you get digested slowly, you see like little burns. It's not like the acid would just melt you right away. It's like slowly corroding his armor, and eventually would get to him. And then in front of him, you see like another stormtrooper, or rather a stormtrooper, I shouldn't say another. And he kind of takes the plug out of his helmet. I guess he's using it for oxygen, which understandable. It's probably very cluttered in there and not very easy to breathe. And then Boba Fett has all these gadgets. So he uses his flamethrower and burns his way to the surface. And I love that. That right there, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And that's the thing with, I think, some of these Star Wars television shows, The Mandalorian, now Boba Fett, is you kind of get to see certain things. You get certain questions answered. And this was a good one. This one was very exciting. And then from there, we now find out how the Jawas got his armor. They basically robbed him while he was laying in the sand. And then the minute he woke up, they knocked him right back out. And then you see that he gets captured by sand people. And then throughout the episode, it's not a flashback throughout the whole episode. There's a couple of times where they do kind of break out of the flashbacks and they focus on him. He's in like a healing tank, which, I'm wondering, for obvious reasons, when you look at the scarring tissue on him and all the things he's been through, all the battles, all the fights as a bounty hunter, I guess that makes perfect sense as to why he's in the healing chamber. I guess I'm just curious if they're going to actually maybe express a little bit more detail into why he needs one versus a lot of other characters we've seen that have been through battles and don't necessarily have one, or maybe it's just something we don't see. The second half of the episode wasn't for me as good as the first half, but that's not to say it was bad. It wasn't bad at all. It was fine. It was your typical opening episode for a new TV show in that it's setting things up. And we see him in Jabba's chamber, and people, or I shouldn't say people, but basically those who live in that area, Tatooine and all that, on Tatooine, I believe is it Mos Eisley around there? Again, not an expert on Star Wars lore, so don't hold it against me. But they're coming and they're bearing gifts to him and things of that nature. And there's one person, who's I think a Twi'lek. I think that's what it's called. Again, the two tentacle people on their heads. And he doesn't bear a gift. If anything, he's expecting one for his master. And that's kind of where you see where they're planting a little seed there, where there might be a conflict with somebody who's not ready to accept Boba Fett as the new ruler in the area, as the new crime boss, so to speak. So that's kind of a funny scene because he basically tells the guy, well, my gift to your master is I send you back alive, essentially is what he said. I'm paraphrasing. So that was really good. And basically, it's kind of him establishing himself as the crime boss, but he doesn't want to do it through fear. He wants to do it through respect. He wants to basically go into these establishments, collect his cut, not give them a hard time, not necessarily shake them down or anything like that. He just wants his cut, and he's going to let them be and let them do what they want to do. And while that sounds all great and fine, Fennec, played by Ming-Na Wen, I think her name is, from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Ming-Na Wen, I think, yes. And I love her, by the way. I love her, and I love her as Fennec. And she, she's telling him, hey, look, that may not necessarily work. And no sooner than she tells him that, these men pop out of nowhere and surround them with these shields, and they can't get by them. They're having a hard time. But earlier in the show, they were gifted, or rather not gifted, there were two former Jabba the Hutt guards. These are the green pigmen. That's what I call them because I don't know their official names. Once again, don't hang me. I'm not a Star Wars guru or lore master or anything. But you know who I'm talking about. The green guys with the pig faces. So, and he accepted them back. When he was back in the chambers, he said, if you are loyal to me, then you can come work for me. And they agreed. And they held up their end of the bargain. Those two came in and saved them. And this I really liked as well, because this is the kind of thing, when I was a huge Star Wars fan with the original trilogy, to some extent, the second trilogy, and I'm just going to give Force Awakens the credit. I did not like the last two movies. But when I was really into it, these are the kind of things I always dreamed about seeing. Something on a smaller scale to, so many different aliens, so many different species, so many different unique characters. And now we get to see them in action. Even though we may not get to know these two characters, the fact that I get to see these guys in action and they're playing a pivotal role in a Star Wars show, I think is very, very cool. You know what I mean? I think it's very cool. So they save them. And then Fennec is on the chase, and she takes one out, and then she captures the other. And another cool thing I like about this episode, we go back to his flashbacks, and when he was captured by the Sand People, they did kind of use him as slave. There's this one young sand person child that runs back to camp. They were basically collecting like these water rocks or whatever, or these water, like, let's call them water chestnuts. They look like nuts. Let's just say the water chestnuts. Again, not a lore expert. Don't hang me. And this big monster attacks, which is really cool. I wasn't expecting that. It was very unique looking. It was big. It was menacing. I thought it was going to crush heads because it was grabbing dudes by the head. So Boba kills this thing and runs back. The little kid, the little sand people kid, runs back cheering as if he killed it. But the elder of that particular camp stands right next to Boba, doesn't say anything, doesn't do any of that. And he hands him a water chestnut to drink and walks away, which tells you that he knows that Boba killed the thing. And that's his way of thanking him for saving the kid's life. And again, I like that. I like that element. That these are, look, when you watch the movies and you see the Sand People, that's all you see. You know what I mean? You don't really get to learn anything about them. You don't really get to learn what their culture is. Are they complete savages? And as you watch some of these smaller scale shows, you realize they're not. There is some civility there. There is a structure. There is, a leader. That's a certain word I'm looking for, and I can't reach it. But you understand what I'm saying? What I'm trying to say is these are characters that we've only ever seen them in one certain way in the movies, and now we're getting to learn more about them. And that's what I really like. That's what I liked about The Mandalorian, and I'm glad they're keeping that going here in Boba Fett. So overall, I thought the first episode was really good. It was a solid opening. I really loved the first half of the show. All the flashback stuff, I love that. That was great. And, the rest of the show was your basic setting things up. showing that there's going to be some conflict. Now the question is, who is this other master that is not necessarily showing him the respect that he wishes to have? And it's going to be interesting to see if it's going to be something that, like a flashback of some sort. You know, another thing I would like to see before I end this review is, when you go back to the Return of the Jedi, we all remember Jabba the Hutt. That was a big villain, a big character in the first pretty much 45 minutes of the movie. And we only ever saw one other like Jabba species, because I know Jabba's his name. I don't know the name of the species, and that was in Phantom Menace when they're doing the pod race and you see and Jabba's there with another like female Jabba or another, you know what I'm saying, the other species. I'm kind of hoping we see another species like that on the show. It's a species we haven't seen in a while, and it's fairly popular. It'd be kind of funny if the other villain is like a sibling of Jabba who wants revenge and is blaming Boba for not properly protecting him. So I just wanted to state that now, just in case by some miracle that happens. But anyway, overall, it was a good first episode. I'm looking forward to the second one. And I hope it maintains. I'm sure we'll see some other characters that we've already seen in The Mandalorian. I'm sure The Mandalorian's going to show up. In fact, I heard a rumor he was. So overall, solid first episode for the Book of Boba Fett. I was pleasantly surprised, and I'm going to keep at it. And we'll obviously review the second episode next week when it releases. Until then, let me know in the comment section what you thought about the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Did you like it? Did you not like it? I personally liked it, especially all the flashbacks. Really love that storytelling there. So hopefully we get more of that as the show goes. We get a little bit more flashbacks. I'm sure there's some other things they're going to flesh out. So, but until next time, this is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.